Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to weather. During these tense times, I thought to myself, what's the one thing we all turn to when we don't quite know what to say, that binds us together in spite of our politics, religion, and thoughts on cinnamon? And then it hit me like a ton of bricks, moaning about the weather. Despite our reputation, this national pastime is not just reserved for the Brits. As I found, people in Midwestern states are just as likely to say something like, "Oh, if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes." And that's when a blizzard comes out of nowhere and puts an end to happiness. But British-American alignment isn't just limited to moaning about the weather. In some states, the weather itself is surprisingly British. Of course, this goes against the false belief that America is all beaches and sunshine, and it also goes against my own experience of weather extremes in the Midwest. But for any Brits eyeing up a post-pandemic move to the United States, you don't have to leave the weather behind you. Now, Uncle Toby will be quick to point out that this is not an apples for apples comparison, that comparing the UK's climate with that of American cities is a flawed experiment because the UK has a broader range of climate than a singular city. And this is true, but firstly, it's worth keeping in mind that the United Kingdom doesn't have anywhere near the extreme weather differences that the United States does. Secondly, this is just a bit of fun. And thirdly, this is my channel and I make the rules. Whether we're talking about wind, temperature, rain, cloud cover, or sometimes even all of it, here are 5 US cities with surprisingly British weather. Providence, Rhode Island. While early English settlers would have noted a sizable difference in summer and winter temperatures between this new colony and their homeland, there are certain elements of Providence that make its climate more British than its neighbours. Now sure, Providence might boast almost twice as many sunny days as Britain, that is, days without cloud cover. But when thinking about some of the phrases that we British use to moan about the weather, 2 key ones come to mind. Firstly, "It's blowing a gale out there." I always in this situation feel sorry for Gail, whoever she is, but the UK's annual average wind speed of 10.1 miles per hour is very on par with that of Providence. Now you might be thinking, why is this important? Well, I'll tell you. Average annual wind speeds vary wildly across the United States. You could be looking at yearly averages anywhere from 6 miles per hour to 12.5. So when I find any US cities that fall within that 10 mile per hour range, the nerdy, crumpet-eating portion of my brain does a little dance. And if it's dancing in the wind, it's almost certainly singing in the rain. Because the other phrase is "it's raining cats and dogs." The 1.8-inch difference between Providence and the United Kingdom is basically a drop in the ocean. Pun intended. And as with the wind or any other genre of weather, is genre the right word? Probably not. It's important to note that rainfall varies significantly throughout the United States. So for instance, in dry Las Vegas, you're looking at about 6 inches per year. In Mobile, Alabama, it's 11 times that. Now admittedly, when it comes to its British weather, Providence is on the low end of this top 5. So let's take it up a notch by going down the map. Don't get me wrong, residents of Virginia Beach both enjoy and endure summer temperatures that us Brits could only dream of. But aside from this, there are 3 areas of the city's climate that align closely with Britain's. The first is average winter temperature lows. After living in Chicago for 4 years and Indiana the 8 years before that, I've personally endured the extremes of the North American winter. Moreover, that ain't got nothing on Fairbanks, Alaska, which boasts winter average lows of minus 11 degrees Fahrenheit. On the other hand, join me now in sparing a thought for Miami residents who suffer through harsh winter averages of 70 degrees. I'll be setting up a donations page soon. But the UK and Virginia Beach are somewhere between the two, with an almost identical winter average low to that of the United Kingdom. Virginia Beach is nonetheless a place where Brits are advised to bring their regular winter gear. They just won't have to endure the culture shock of frozen nose hair. They'll also want to bring their umbrellas. Unlike much of the United States, Virginia Beach gets virtually the same amount of rain as the UK, about 45 inches a year. Although this does tend to be in shorter, heavier bursts. And like Providence or the morning after White Castle, it can get a little windy. Actually, with average annual winds of 10.5 miles an hour, it's marginally windier than not just the UK, but Chicago. If it weren't for this and its wildly hotter summers, it would be Britain Mark II. So let's take a look at the final 3 cities where extremes like this begin to narrow. Every country has one, a city roundly despised by people that have never been there. And Cleveland, Ohio seems to be America's perpetual scapegoat, but it's got a lot of things going for it. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Lake Erie, and its relatively British weather. Come to think of it, that last one might account for its bad reputation, but I've never been there, so I'm not going to pass judgment. What I will say is, it's located in the Midwest, meaning that its winters are significantly colder than Britain. But this differential is only about half as great as the summertime differential in Virginia Beach. And once you get that out of the way, other elements of its dreary climate start to look a little less extreme. Take, for example, the amount of summer days. Both Providence and Virginia Beach had almost twice as many as Britain. On the other hand, and not to add to the city's unfair criticism, Cleveland is the place where the sun don't shine very often, because it only gets 9 more days of sun than the UK. Now again, this is significant because the United States has a wide range of sunny versus cloudy days. In Las Vegas and much of the Southwest, 2/3 of the year are taken up with sunshine, meaning Cleveland is very much in the lower percentile of sunny places. And with that, of course, comes rain, and while it doesn't quite get as much as both Virginia Beach and the United Kingdom, Cleveland's rain is slightly less prone to heavy bursts and more prone to drizzle. And while the city does endure decidedly hotter summers than Britain, they're not as hot as those in Virginia Beach. But one thing it does have in common with Virginia Beach is its wind. With an annual average of 10.5 miles per hour, Gail wouldn't know if she's coming or going. On the other hand, with our final 2 cities, Gail doesn't have anything to worry about. And that's because wind is the one area that they largely differ from Britain. And that's because in each case, unlike the first 3 entries on this list, the wind isn't quite as strong. However, every other metric is almost as British as fish and chips on a Kate and William plate set. One of those cities is Portland, Oregon. And the first thing to say about Portland is it's the first city on this list to have a summer high average of less than 80 degrees. And while that's obviously still quite a bit warmer than the UK, Portland only has 11 more days of sunshine. Perhaps the city isn't so weird after all. And that's not even the most British thing about its weather. Like other entries on this list, it has almost the same amount of rain per year. Every year, on average, its overcast skies bring rainfall to the tune of 43.5 inches. But on top of all of this, and perhaps the thing that aligns it most with Britain, and to be fair, Virginia Beach, is its average winter lows. Its winter average of 36 degrees puts it on par with both London and our final entry. There it is, data shows that true to stereotype, Seattle is the US city with the most British weather. First of all, it gets bonus points for being a tad windier than Portland. As previously stated, its winter lows are on par with Britain, so too its average rainfall. But there are 2 key factors that push Seattle to number 1. First of all, its summer high temperatures are inching down closer to those of the UK, and while there's still a 9-degree differential between the 2, Seattle's average of 74-degree highs is virtually identical to London. But the biggest similarity is also its most visual, and that is its average number of sunny days. Or, to put that in reverse, its average number of cloudy days. On average, Seattle sees only 58 days a year of complete sunshine. You'll notice that's just 1 day more than the UK. Now, as I mapped out all of the cities in this video, a pattern started to emerge. All of them were relatively near to a large body of water, and I'm not talking about the British-like puddles on the streets. Britain's position in the Atlantic is largely what informs its climate. The same is true of Portland and Seattle near the Pacific, Cleveland next to Lake Erie, and Providence and Virginia Beach next to the Atlantic. Those are the 5 American cities with the most British weather. I'm Lawrence Brown, and you can follow me on Twitter at LostInThePondUS. Research and graphics for this video was made possible by my patrons. If you would like to become a patron and support the work I do, you can do so at patreon.com/LostInThePond. Until next time, goodbye. Hello? Yes, I have had a haircut. I'll reveal all soon, all right? What are you calling about? No, I was going to include San Francisco, and then I looked at some of the data. Yes, it does have similar temperatures and similar wind, but when you look at the amount of sunshine that it gets a year, there's quite a vast disparity. Yeah, it gets almost 3 times as much as the UK, and it gets way less rain, contrary to popular belief. About half. Yeah. So don't call me asking me, ooh, where was San Francisco? I was going to include it. I did the research. You didn't. Now, off. Sorry, yeah. All right. All right, bye. Yep, yep. Bye, Grandma. Yep, yep. Bye.